3, 2, 1.
You ready?
You're listening to the Real Pineapple Podcast Network.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. This is the Real Pineapple. This is your humble host, Hunter, here. I've got a quick review here for the first teaser trailer, which they showed at the end of Spider-Man No Way Home. I figured that it just leaked so much, Marvel went, fine, whatever, let's just put this out. So they went ahead and put out the first teaser for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which of course is Sam Raimi's return back to directing a comic book film for the first time since Spider-Man 3, which, what a trip that is. This comes out in May, no official release date yet, but it's May of this year, and I will say, considering the awesomeness that Stephen Strange shows in No Way Home, I really loved him and Peter's dynamic, but the fact that we're going to get basically Marvel's first horror film, I'm excited because what's been interesting about Phase 4 is that Phase 4 has leaned more into horror elements, even in something like Shang-Chi. There's definitely a horror element to the Ten Rings, and WandaVision had one of my favorite scares all this past year with the dead vision that Wanda saw. That's still one of those, like, oh my god. And that Miss Minutes jump scare you get in the Loki season finale, damn you, Marvel, for that. So we've been seeing more and more dips and turns into horror, but this looks like this is Marvel more than they have before, going all in with it. So just as far as what I noticed, few things here. So the movie really should be called Doctor Strange, What the Fuck Did Y'all Do? Because this looks like what Doctor Strange was trying to hold back at the end of No Way Home, and it all still splintering. So I'm curious how we're going to get from Doctor Strange's journey from the end of No Way Home to this point. I'm really curious about that. So a couple things I will say I noticed. Rachel Mcadams is back. I'm really happy Rachel McAdams is back, because Rachel McAdams, she's a win in pretty much anything she's in. She's one of the best actresses we have. What I'm curious about is how much explanation we're going to get for who Christine ends up marrying, because, because when I'm assuming what they're going to do is talk about the fact that Doctor Strange blipped, therefore, him and Christine weren't able to, keep seeing each other, or, potentially explore a relationship. And so, she moved on. I think that's exactly what they're going to do. So I'm curious to see, the potential anger that Strange has for things that are outside of his control. So I'm hoping we get a little exploration on that front. But it'll be interesting to see if she's just marrying some, average Joe, or if she's marrying someone that's going to be, important to the film. So I'm curious how they're going to go ahead and address that. I love the opening shot in this trailer where we see Doctor Strange's reflection in that watch, and you see the breaks in the watch to go ahead and represent the multiple timelines. That's just such a nice, subtle touch. I love that. Also seeing all the different versions of the Marvel logo, like bleed and almost like fighting each other for juxtaposition. I love the way that was going ahead and being introduced. We, of course, get the reappearance of Elizabeth Olsen. Yay, love her. Elizabeth Olsen's Scarlet Witch is back in the fold. So, at the end of WandaVision, we saw Wanda, practicing her chaos magic while reading from Agatha's spell book, which, I think is all but confirmed to be the MCU version of the Darkhold. So it's going to be very interesting because later in the trailer, we see Scarlet Witch casting that spell. And if you look, her fingertips were turning just a little black. And that was something that happened with Agatha, if you remember, in WandaVision, due to the amount of dark magic that she experimented with. So I'm really curious, like, how, because I feel like we're heading down this road. Like, there's easily a world where Wanda, you know, has her no more mutants moment and actually brings mutants into the MCU. That would be, or you could use that, you know, say Inhumans instead. Like, I feel like we're heading that direction with Wanda, but we're getting these teases more and more that she's, you know, that she's going to be a villain. So I'm really curious. I wonder if they're going to pull the trigger by the end of the film, or if they're going to drag it out a little more. Honestly, I think you can make an argument for either case. One of the shots that I really dig, and it's pretty early on in the trailer. It's like at the 23-second mark, seeing that alternate version of New York and seeing how that version of the Sanctum Sanctorum is like decaying away. It's really reminiscent of Loki, the season finale there, when they go ahead and encounter He Who Remains. So I'm not saying we're getting Kang the Conqueror in this, but I think we're going to get another Easter egg to let the audience know, like, Kang's coming. Because I don't know if, I would not be surprised if he makes an appearance, or another variant of his makes an appearance, before we get to, you know, Kang the Conqueror Prime in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. I think we get something before that, but I digress. I love the way, like I said, how the world looks like it's breaking down. Here's my big swing on this, and, you know, obviously this is a horror trope, seeing, you know, black crows. Like, that's always been a thing for as long as I've watched horror films. Here's where it's a little interesting. Crows have been tied to the MCU's version of Morgan Le Fay. So, you know, if your history, you know, witchcraft, lore, you know, all that stuff, if you're kind of into that stuff, you know that, you know, she was a sorceress that has ties to medieval. That's what I was trying to think of. She has ties to King Arthur. She's his half sister. So we already know that we're kind of getting more into that realm of the MCU as far as the medieval stuff, because we have Black Knight being introduced at the end of at the end of Eternals. We saw that for the mid-credit scene. So is that how we get Morgan Le Fay in the MCU? I mean, that would make sense to go ahead and start building out the magic portion of the MCU. I mean, her being a sorceress would make sense, and that would be another powerful, you know, person down the road that you have to worry about. I mean, she could team up with Agatha for all we know, or be the reason Agatha gets out of Westview. So I think that Crow's there very specifically. Again, I could be taking a big swing and be completely wrong, but I'm excited to see if that ends up being the case. And then the last two things I'm going to bring up, I think the big thing that most people were like, oh shit, that's cool. At the 41-second mark, we get the very classic comic look of America Chavez. And that, so first off, that's awesome. I'm so happy we're getting this character finally being introduced. So very quick summary on her. She has multiple types of powers. She was raised in a separate reality by her magical mothers, and then ended up gaining abilities and ends up fleeing her reality, which is why I think she's in that random room. I think that's her initially escaping the reality she's in. Fun fact, she can actually punch holes in realities and jump between realities. So she might just punch her way out. I don't know if she'll be that strong by the time that we are introduced to her, but I mean, that's a hell of a way to establish her power base. So go ahead and just have her punch through her reality. And the one other thing I wanted to point out, just because I find it interesting that this is actually in the trailer. At the minute, it's like the minute 24 mark, I want to say, we get the look of the Nexus. Oh yeah, the minute 20 mark. Pardon me. We get the look of what looks like the Nexus of all realities, which is basically this giant meeting point where all the realities go ahead and merge into one place. So you can go ahead and basically jump between whatever reality you want, where they all merge. So I just find that very interesting, because we could see Kang or someone there, or someone that we're not even thinking of, who's already maybe made it there before Strange and his friends have. So I find it very interesting that they're establishing that is already at play. And then, of course, the last thing we have to talk about. So I haven't finished What If, but I did watch the Doctor Strange episode, which was a great fucking episode. I really enjoyed that episode. But he encounters his dark variant in Strange Supreme at the end of this trailer, and that's with the voiceover of Mondo saying, the bill always Mordo, pardon me, that the bill always comes due, and saying that the biggest threat to the universe is you. Like, I'm very curious if they're actually going to tie What If to this, because it seems like they are. Which, if What If is on the table, do we get Captain Carter, which would be amazing? Do we get Haley Atwell as Captain Carter? Again, please give me that. The possibilities are genuinely endless for this movie, considering we're dealing with alternate reality or alternate realities. I know he has COVID, and I'm assuming, like, I know they're doing reshoots, but maybe he shot it beforehand. I think we get Hugh Jackman. I think we get a Hugh Jackman cameo, even if he's not in the suit, even if he's just playing Logan in civilian clothes. I think we get Hugh Jackman in this. I would lose my mind if we got Hugh Jackman, but I think we're getting Hugh Jackman. But yeah, everyone, Multiverse of Madness comes out in May. I'm hyped for Multiverse of Madness. I cannot wait to watch this. So yeah, everyone, was there something else that I missed that you noticed? Let me know in the comments. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter at JHunterRealPineapple. You can follow Scott on Twitter at Nearman1st. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts: SoundCloud, Apple and Google Podcasts, Podbean, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spotify, to name a few spots, at The Real Pineapple. And don't forget to like both our gaming pages, one on Facebook at The Real Pineapple, and then also on Facebook at Real Pineapple Games. And you can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/JHunterRealPineapple. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. We'll have reviews up here soon for Ghostbusters Afterlife, Come On, Power of the Dog, The Lost Daughter, Being the Ricardos, along with some other stuff. But everyone, thank you so much for listening. Take care of each other, wear a mask, stay safe out there, and we'll talk to you soon.